Hi, I'm attorney Gregory Dell, joined by attorney Stephen Jessup, and we're going to talk about one of Stephen's cases on behalf of a client who's with Northwestern Mutual. And Stephen, in these videos, we talk about the background and history of the claim, what we were able to do for the claimant, and then provide some tips that may help people who have a Northwestern Mutual claim. So give us a little bit of the background information on this particular client's case.
Yeah, and this is a client that's been a client for many years now, but when she first contacted us, she had already been on claim for 3 years. She was working as an attorney. That's her occupation. She'd been on claim for 3 years of partial disability under her policy. And when she contacted us, it was basically she received a letter from Northwestern Mutual saying, we've reviewed updated information and we don't find medical evidence of continued impairment or restrictions and limitations. So it wasn't a denial, it was more of a, hey, we're looking at this and we don't necessarily see that there's much going on here, so we're not sure if we're still on the hook under this policy.
So I want to stop you there because not a lot of companies behave in that manner. So this may be a positive, it is a positive, not maybe, for someone who has Northwestern Mutual, because what would 8 out of 10 companies do in this exact situation?
They would have just said they're denied it, so there's not enough information, we're denying it. You know, even though you don't have to do an appeal, they'd say you have the right to appeal this decision and stuff, but they basically gave her the heads up like, hey, you know, we just don't see it. You know, and at that point too, when she first contacted us, she hadn't been to a doctor in over 5 months. So there were those concerns of being under the appropriate care of a physician for the disability, for your condition as required of the definition of disability.
Right, and while we do bash a lot of disability insurance companies because they earn the right to be bashed, this particular claim is an example of Northwestern Mutual kind of acting like the gold standard for how most disability insurance companies should behave, and this is an example where they basically got together, whatever their review was, and said, look, we don't think there's support here, is there something missing? And that's when, fortunately, this client reached out to you and said, look what's going on, I think they're about to cut me off, can you help me? So what was the medical condition, and what were you able to do based on what you learned at that point in time?
So the main condition was gastroparesis, so it's an issue with the stomach and the inability to, you know, empty food properly. It can lead to all kinds of digestive issues, secondary fatigue, you know, just general malaise. And you know, for her big thing was she had done a mixture of criminal defense and personal injury work, so she was in the courthouse a lot. And the start of her claim was, you know, her condition was so inconsistent with whether it be diarrhea or other problems that she couldn't continue to, you know, practice in court. She was able to, you know, handle smaller cases, you know, refer things out if it got to a certain point, especially on the personal injury side of it. So it was that, and then, you know, the secondary effects of the fatigue. She suffered from insomnia and things like that. She just wasn't getting a lot of rest, so she didn't feel that she was mentally as sharp as she used to be or could be to properly represent, you know, clients. And, you know, at that point too, it also given up any of the criminal defense work, was just doing small personal injury claims.
So can you clarify again, she was doing what types of legal work?
Prior to disability, criminal defense and personal injury. You know, criminal defense, you're in court a lot.
Right.
So with the way her condition was affecting her, she couldn't reasonably be in court. She didn't know when she'd have a bad day, miss hearings, things like that. So she gave up that aspect of the practice and continued personal injury claims.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. Had she been criminal defense, obviously we know she's in court a lot. That's an occupation that requires you to be in court no matter what. Personal injury, not so much. Most of them don't go to trial. Had she been, though, a personal injury trial attorney and going to court all the time, just like her criminal defense, and then decided that she was going to give up those things and basically just do office work, do you think it would have been more of a total disability situation than possibly a residual disability?
You know, it would depend, especially in the personal injury world, because unless she was only doing trials, you know, if she was doing no like pre-suit type stuff and that, then yes. But if a portion of it, which a lot of times with personal injury, you're trying to resolve a case prior to the filing of a lawsuit, and then if it doesn't happen, you file a lawsuit. I think there could have still been an argument that she would have been partially disabled because she's still performing one of the more of the material substantial duties, or under her Northwestern policy, there's also, you know, partial disability is if you can't do it for as much time. So say you're still doing everything, but you're even reducing the amount of time you do it.
But I think in this case, because we've represented a lot of attorneys in all different areas of law, especially personal injury, many personal injury lawyers actually litigate their own cases full through the civil trials. And I believe in her case, she wasn't necessarily doing the civil litigation while she was doing the criminal. So in a way, it was very hard to make the argument that what she's still doing now was not an important duty that she was doing before. So that's why I think she stayed on the residual. But when they contacted you, they were saying, look, we don't even think she's possibly residual. So how did you go about proving that she still had limitations that were preventing her from doing her job?
You know, the first thing is you got to go to the doctor, you know. Going to the doctor, not been to a doctor at that point for almost half a year. Then there's a matter of, is it so severe? If it was as severe as it had been early on, you'd still be going to the doctor. So getting back into your doctor, you know, her doctor is very, very supportive, you know, as to it, you know, just circling back around, getting updated, you know, attending physician statement, things like that to support that, yes, you know, giving her conditions, she would, you know, be, you know, have medical impact that would reduce the hours she could work or limit what she could do.
I don't fault her for not going to the doctor because you had said she had already been getting paid for 3 years. When she filed her claim, I'm sure that was the first day that she was having episodes. She had already probably been suffering with this for years. So she knew what was going on with her and probably didn't go back to the doctor like we see with many of our clients because there's really not much more the doctor could do for her. She was still getting her medications, filling those, and was like, why am I going to go there? The doctor's going to tell me the same thing. Now, just because you and I don't fault her for that, the insurance company eats you up for that because like you just said a minute ago, well, if it's so bad, why aren't you going? So my question to you is, how often would you recommend your clients go to the doctor, and how often did you tell her that she needed to go to the doctor?
I mean, ideally, I think every 3 months at the longest. Sometimes the doctor will say, hey, longer. And in a situation like gastroparesis, there's really no cure. You know, it's a lifelong condition that she'll continue to have, so it's a matter of, you know, what the doctor may think is reasonable. If there's been an acute disruption, and, you know, she's been a client of mine for, you know, about a decade now. If there's an acute issue, she goes in. Otherwise, the doctor's kind of laid it back that if you have a problem, come in. And the insurance company, we've even done with Northwestern Mutual, we've had it that, you know, there's not much more she can do treatment options right now. So almost getting this idea of waiving the requirement of having to consistently go in. So most of the updates that they ask for are progress reports from her and then monthly like profit and loss statements. It's not too often, maybe once a year they'll ask for a medical update just to see where things are at there. Because it is a lifelong chronic condition.
Right, so every month, because she's residually disabled now, you're submitting a claimant statement, you're submitting a profit and loss statement so that they can see, does she continue to have the requisite loss of income? And you said at this point they're basically accepting the fact that her loss of income is related to her disability. Correct. And they're asking for medical certification of disability once a year.
Correct.
So overall, it was good that you were able to clear up this situation, and you said more than 10 years ago, and you've continued to represent her every month since then, and she was a relatively young attorney at the time she came to you, and you'll continue to represent her on a monthly basis, and possibly one day she may need to go total, and that situation will be able to help her make that transition from residual to total. So if you're someone who has a Northwestern Mutual disability claim, whether it's an individual policy that you got from an agent or an employer-provided policy from your employer, feel free to reach out to Stephen or myself or any of our disability lawyers. No matter where you live in the country, we're available to assist you. We'd love to provide you with an immediate free phone consultation to discuss your claim and let you know how we could help you to secure your long-term disability benefits. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process. And when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, Plus, we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.